what advice would you have for any aspiring editors to break into editing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there are different avenues, and people come in different ways. One thing I've noticed is that you can come into editing from the different creative roles in comics. I find that some people have been comic artists before. People have been comic writers. Maybe they had done some other technical aspect of making comics, and then editing became something they wanted to try. These days, you don't need permission. You can become something in comics purely by sheer dint of will and good planning and building an audience of some kind. I think you probably have to have someone to give that comic to or to get them to read it. But if a creative team gets together and you've got some friends and someone's an artist, someone's a writer, someone wants to try their hand at editing. Editing is kind of like being a project manager as well. It just depends. Sometimes the person who is the project manager is also the artist on a book, so they end up being kind of the editor. It shifts around like that. You got to just jump in. You got to try it in some way. And these days you could do it with webcomics. You could do it through a creator-owned project or Kickstarter. You get your first credit. You get something that comes out with your name in it, even if it's a Kickstarter and doesn't go out to shops or something like that. And you build it up. So people want to see, just like with other roles, they want to see quality and consistency over time.
Absolutely. I think people don't care if it came out on Kickstarter as long as you've done something. People are like, oh, this person's for real now. They're no longer an aspiring editor. They're now an editor. They're now a writer. They're now an artist, and that's how it works.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's even more impressive if it's a Kickstarter project because you did that all by yourself in a way, or out there without a lot of guidance or leadership, but you kind of wrangled that project and brought it to completion, and that's really impressive.
Exactly, because a lot of things get started and never finish, so it's good to finish that.
I would say that in any role in comics, a big rule should be finish things, finish them, even if it's excruciating. Try to get to the end of that project, because then once you have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've tried to work with people, and it's just like something will fall apart along the way. Someone else gets busy, or they have another project, and they're like, oh no, how are we going to make this work? And it just, you have to kind of force a will it sometimes and say.
It's so understandable, but it's so sad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, all of us are overworked. I'm speaking for you here. You're
right, though.
We all drop the ball occasionally. Projects can be troubled for reasons that you can't plan. Someone's spouse might get ill or something happens with their work situation. Projects can be troubled even if they're beautiful, wonderful projects, but you have to keep it moving somehow. Find a way to keep pushing it forward.
It's true.
Basically.
And I love it.